Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. We're back already. It's November the 25th of 2025, and it's a slightly early edition of Weekly Manga Recap this week.
Yeah, this is wild and crazy for us unorthodox. Who heard of an early Weekly Manga Recap, Nick? Not I.
I guess it depends on your definition of early. Time was we would just do this on Sundays, like so.
Back when we were 23 with very few responsibilities in life.
Oh man, that ruled.
I was going to say, I want to go back to those days, but basically when I'm not doing schoolwork, I'm playing Fire Emblem. So it is like I'm a teenager again in a way.
Yeah, I like to have the energy in order to do everything I want to, though.
Can I note this? So my surgery recovery has been very, very well, in case anyone's concerned. Thank you very much for the well wishes from everybody. But I am not allowed to exercise for another 2 weeks, basically. And it is killing me to not be able to exercise, right? Because I was doing yoga 3-ish times a week, sometimes more. Actually, it was always more. It was like 4 to 5 times a week. And then I was walking like 5 miles a day, like 2 to 3 times a week, something like that.
That's a big change.
So I stopped doing all that. And now my body just hurts all the time because I'm not stretching at all. I'm not doing any of that sort of stuff. And it's really putting a hamper on my vibes right now. I'm very much like kind of bummed that I can't like do some down dog right now.
But as the hip yogaists,
as the
we're gonna do some down dog today, and then maybe
let's do some down dog. Maybe do some peace warrior,
and then we're gonna do, of course, Lotus.
Let's everybody get into child's pose.
Let me see your hands on the ground, because we're going to do a series of poses.
Yeah, because it's Sphinx pose time.
It's Sphinx. That's a cool name for a pose. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I imagine you can visualize what it looks like right now.
Yeah. Guys, we have manga to talk about this week. A good collection of manga in general, I would say. And it wasn't until I was opening up all the tabs that I realized why. And you actually pointed out to me, Quinn, which was, there's no new sections this week.
Look, I don't want to. No, I was about to be like, I don't want to sit here and kick New Sexist, but I'm like, I think that's why it's in the recap.
That's why we do it.
I was like, please, we have to protect its feelings. I will say, Jump felt less dumb and horny this week than it usually does, and it's not as though there's not some dumb and not even some horny at times.
Right.
But it was definitely appreciated to not like.
We'll talk about both of those in measure, certainly.
There's just a relief in not having to like read a chapter, open up the app and be like, I gotta get to New Sexist, and you're like, I don't even know which girl this is. Is this a new girl? Like, what's happening? Like, is this that level 4 that he's supposed to fight? Do I even who knows?
All right, what genre will this series be today?
It's like, it's the serious battle manga. The real big fight has happened. I'm never going to take it out of this recap, though. We're going to get too much out of it. I mean, there was an entire chapter about the room slowly filling up with piss from the magic piss baby. So, okay, how can you take away art? You got to protect it.
See, this is what we mean by freedom of expression, is allowing shit like this to exist.
I want the garbage out there so that I can appreciate it.
Absolutely. Because then it makes you appreciate the stuff that's not garbage. Like Ichi the Witch. And let's kick things off with Ichi the Witch. 60th Hunt in Between, featuring a truly, truly sweet and adorable cover page of Chrono with Melinda whose name I keep on forgetting, Miranda. M Dog.
Minerva.
Minerva. I have forgotten her name
M
so many
Dizzle.
times. So many times. And I'm trying to be better, but I just forget it every time that we start discussing it. And I look at her face. I'm like, gone. It's gone.
Nick, I'm going to help you mnemonics
I've written
right
it down.
now. It's mnemonics. Minerva's the goddess of war, and you don't want to make her angry because she gets really mad.
True.
It doesn't matter if it's true, Nick.
She's the goddess of wisdom.
It doesn't
and
matter.
Strategic warfare.
There you go.
Strategic warfare.
There you go.
All right. Oh, she's the equivalent of Athena. Okay, I'll take that. All right.
And you don't want to make her angry. See, it's just like Minerva. You won't want to make her angry.
I will. You know what? That'll probably help me.
I'm so good at coming up with really, really bad mnemonics that end up working because they're so bad.
Oh boy. Kiyoshi is here with what is his name? Hitsugi? I forget his name too.
His name, I believe, is Hitsugi. Someone says it pretty early on, I believe.
But that's also Sosuke's family name, isn't it? From Kiyoshi.
It might, yeah, I believe
Hitsugi.
so.
It is Hitsugi. All right. Yeah. So Kiyoshi and Hitsugi, they're facing off against Descarus and Chrono. Kiyoshi is really, really, really happy because he gets to play with Chrono now. But Hitsugi kind of pulls him aside and he's like, hey, I've got to, take care of something here. And so he opened his mouth, his weird multi-mouth tongue comes out, and rising up from the depths of the ocean surrounding them are corpses singing a scary sea shanty with all the yo-hos. And they rise up on to the deck with the technique name Alpha Dead Party.
It's a very cool name.
So Descarus is like, wait, what the hell is this? And Kiyoshi recognizes them as, oh, it's all the humans from the ships that I sank, and you brought them back, Hitsugi. That's neat. He's really no appreciation for how creepy this is or how intense this confrontation is.
Yeah, I don't know if Kiyoshi can register an emotion that isn't excitement to murder battle.
Just fight, yeah. And disappointment that he can't fight somebody. Yeah.
I feel like taking him through a haunted house, he would just have his arms crossed the whole time because he was told at the front he's not allowed to fight anybody.
Kill these people.
Even though they're going to try to jump at me, I'm supposedly not allowed to kill them.
Hitsugi says oh, this is quite a diversion for you, isn't it? But the one I really wanted to show it to is you, Lord Chrono Weaver. And Chrono is me like, why did you want to show me this? And Hitsugi says, well, look at these humans. Aren't they pitiable? They're frail, short-lived, and no matter how much they cry and resist, they die so easily just by the merest of a magic's games. And yet you fell for one. Humans are weak creatures, and if you want one for a partner, you have to protect it well, because the Lord World Hater is going to rebuild the world, warping out the old, human and magic alike. The new world they create will be one for magics, by magics, and only Lord World Hater's chosen few will be permitted to survive. And Kiyoshi is in the corner during us being like, yeah, us, yeah. Great deal, right?
He's so excited. He's like, join our group. We can fight all the time.
And Hitsugi offers Chrono Weaver to be among the elite magics and says, look, you are of incredible power. You are an epic magic, and you could have your human partner join you. And Kiyoshi's like, no, only Chrono, no. And he's even stamping his tentacles like he's throwing a hissy fit. But Hitsugi says, look, we'll make an exception for your human. She's not even saying your wife. It's your human, your pet.
I would imagine in their parlance they are yeah, you have some weird concubine or something I don't care.
All right, you're a weird pervert. Sure.
Whatever weird freaky shit you're into, we'll look the other way as long as you turn back time on all of our opponents.
And Hitsugi points out that Chrono has the power to make that happen. He could freeze Minerva in time so that they never have to worry about either of them aging and dying and leaving the other one behind. And Hitsuki says, and I know that you don't want that human of yours to suffer an unsightly fate like theirs. So what do you say, Lord Chrono Weaver? And Chrono lifts his head up and says, I say that you're a lonely creature. And Hitsuki says, what? And Chrono does his live long and prosper gesture thing and puts all of the corpses into bubbles, and the entire ship is surrounded by his power. And he says, return to your natural time and sleep. And he uses his ability skip to cause them all to just instantly fade into dust with the passage of time by just fast forwarding them rapidly. And Kronos says to Hitsuki, you are correct. To me, humans emerge from nothing and return to it in the blink of an eye. They are trivial, insignificant beings. But in their fleeting days, they can fit a staggering amount of beauty. Minnie taught me that. Aww. And we see, little bits of them just like being a cute little couple together, eating meals. Like, it looks like they're like holding hands while she's on the deck cleaning. It looks almost like they're dancing while cleaning the deck. And then just like, holding each other. And Chrono says, I am an old magic, with time itself under my control. But it was only when Minnie joined me that for the first time ever I truly felt its passage. I did think about freezing time for her, but she said, I don't want eternity. I mean, going on forever without meeting our baby, I don't think I could stand it. And that thought is scary enough, but what terrifies me most of all is if you did that, I might come to hate you for it. Instead of spending forever frozen in a single moment, I want to watch the days go by doing whatever I can to make you happy. Born only to die in the span of a blink, yet she chooses to spend that brief moment caring for me. They may be weak and frail, but humans have something we magics never will. And he puts Hitsuki into a bubble and says, if you can't comprehend that, then you're a lonely creature indeed. And Hitsuki realizes what he's going to say, and it's like, no, don't say it! No, don't infect me with the cooties! And Hitsuki gets skipped away as well, as Chrono says, others may say what they like, but I know without a doubt what that is. Love. Aw, it's so cheesy, but so good.
What a dork. But it's absolutely very endearing. And it comes with just a cool speech and like the hey, I'm also going to turn you at dust. Not that I assume that's going to do anything. I assume that's also magic, so they'll just reconstitute. But yeah. I do definitely appreciate the gravitas of being like, I'm going to send you to oblivion so you don't have to hear the fact that I'm going to say the exceptionally cheesy thing you knew I was going to say. I hope he just repeats it to him when he comes back. He's like, by the way, I said love when you were dead. But it's very good. I like the poetic aspect of just like, yes, they only live for with the span of a blink, and yet she chooses to care for me. It's very romantic, and this is ultimately the heart, the crux. This is everything for this arc. So it's good to really establish and build this out, because when something happens to Crow, knock on wood, it's gonna hit now that we care about him.
It is interesting that he kind of precludes himself from that sentiment as well. That he says, like, we magics can never understand this, but humans do. And yet, from his actions, it seems very clear that he does love Minerva. But he does not give that to himself. He doesn't think that he understands it on the same level that she does.
Yeah. Very, very excellent chapter. Really loved Crow getting to show off. I think it was very cool. He just like eliminates this army of zombies by just like aging them to dust. Like, nah, I have time powers. I'm really broken, actually. So yeah, super cool chapter.
I was reminded of Ulquiorra from Bleach with this chapter. You remember how he dies in that? Where he's like, Oh, I understand now. Blank page. It's the heart. You know, like
I remember it, I think, more from your videos on it. I've really wiped out a lot of Bleach in my mind.
it just made me think of that because like, you know, oh, these extremely powerful beings that, you know, don't understand the ways of the humans and stuff. But then at the very last minute, one of them understands it. But this is kind of like the inversion of that. Of like, what if the character had actually grown from encountering humans instead of just dying?
Yeah.
Okay, Blue Box.
Blue box.
Chapter 220, I'm going to nationals. Last time, after a very distressing moment with Hina, Taiki
Did something happen?
finally, yeah, nah.
Oh, okay.
Nothing that's commented on in this chapter, at least.
Then
Taiki went to Chinatsu.
everything's hunky-dory then.
Taiki realized that he needed some assistance, and so he went to Chinatsu at her job. And after getting some words of encouragement from her, he finally, like, all the emotions came out. And he started crying. And in the beginning of this chapter, he thinks to himself, you know, the truth is I knew. You know, I beat my upperclassmen, and, you know, the fact that I'm going up against my best friend and how my junior is making all this progress coming for me, the pressure weighing down on me. And it's because in my final year, I lack confidence. So I've been subconsciously making excuses for myself. So like when he made the remark of like, oh, you know, yeah, I beat Haru last year, so it's only natural that, you know, I would lose this year. And I don't mind if I lose to Kyo because he's worked so hard. And, you know, saying to Haruto like, yeah, torch is passed. And he's like, I'm not confident I can succeed. So I'm trying to find a way for myself to lose without hurting. Even though if I do lose, that'd be more devastating than anything in my life. Which, you know, he's 17, so he's allowed to feel that way.
He's allowed to feel that way because, in truth, it is the only important thing he's really done in his life until this point.
And he thinks to himself that Hina did encourage him, but despite that, he's still like been wallowing in self-pity. And he thinks, even though I'm starting to hate myself for being so weak, I still have someone on my side. And Chinatsu's just being a really good person, and she's, you know, gets him some tissues and is like, I'll throw away the ones that you use up and stuff. You know, just like looking after the guy who really needs some help right now.
Mm-hmm.
After Taiki finishes eating, they leave the restaurant. As they start walking, they hold hands.
Aww.
And Chinatsu says, you know, I've cleared up all my regrets from before. And then they head to Taiki's place. And when they get there, Chinatsu says, I'm sleeping over tonight. And he's like, huh? So, I can't run away. I live here.
Yeah, just runs into the house, and then she comes in after. He's like, oh, right.
I came too. You're not supposed to be allowed to do that.
I know where I'll hide. My room.
Walks in through the room.
No. Surely I'll be safe in my bed.
But, you know, Chinatsu's like, yeah, I lived with you for, you know, like 2 years. Like, so it's fine. And Taiki brings up, but your clothes, like, you can lend me some of your clothes. Your toothbrush, a third extra toothbrushes, it's fine. And he ends up setting up like a little bit of bedding next to his bed in his room. And he's thinking to himself, this is ethically and morally acceptable, right?
This is a real Osamu brain thought where he's like, is this an ethically and morally acceptable situation I'm in, right?
Is it violating some law? No, Taiki, it's not violating some law. If anyone's violating the law, it's her because she is of age and you're not. So he starts panicking about like, oh man, we might end up doing something inappropriate. Wait, why would it be appropriate? We're going out. He's just all up in his own head.
He
Chinatsu.
needs like a hyperfixation that he can like recite or go through to just like calm himself down when he's overthinking.
Absolutely. Chinatsu comes in wearing a spare change of clothes, and they're a little bit big on her, and Taiki gets so worked up that he like clusters into a ball on the bed. Which, look, I actually understand where you're coming from with that one. Like, my partner's wearing my clothes and she looks really adorable. That's a reaction that I've had before, certainly. So.
Fair enough. I was like, she already kind of just wears oversized clothing a lot, so it really just seems
but it's
like
because it's his clothes.
Fair.
I think is the point.
Well, I thought it was because the sleeve goes like past her like hand, so like only your fingers are kind of poking out. It bunches up at the leg, so he's like, "Oh, she's wearing like clothing that's kind of big for her." But I'm like, that's pretty much what she wears like all the time
He does
anyway.
wear loose clothing quite often. Yes. There's a reason why I understood why when he was like, I can't imagine Chinatsu wearing a bikini. It's like, yeah, I kind of get that. She does not wear form-fitting clothing. She wears comfy clothes. They settle down to try and go to bed. But, Taiki had been kind of like reacting. So he was like on his bed, and Chinatsu just lies down on the mat that he set up. And he's like, no, you should take the bed. And Chinatsu's like, no, you've got a tournament coming up, and like I'm your guest. So you sleep on the bed. So they settle down for like 2 minutes, and then Taiki's like, no, I can't make my girlfriend sleep on the floor. So they switch, and then immediately Chinatsu's like, no, I can't make you sleep on the floor. And so she's like, here, and just grabs him underneath the arms and hoists him up.
She deadlifts him. Now it makes sense. She exercises a lot, but
she is an athlete.
It is one of those things where I'm like, in the death battle that you would do between, I guess, Chinatsu and I don't know,
Himari.
Yeah, Himari, I guess. I was like trying to think, and I was like, he would lose to Chitoge. She would still lose to Chitoge because I believe she had superhuman strength.
Scary strong, yes.
You would use this to be like, I mean, Chinatsu lifted up Taiki. You'd put like, what's the average Japanese athletic boy weight and height? But that's like an impressive deadlift. It's very incredible. So
this is absolutely where you get the statistics analysis where they overthink everything.
That's what all the internet death battle stuff does nowadays, don't they? Like, I only really watched the one where they were like, well, Superman can crush black holes in his hands, so that means he's strength is like an unfathomable degree that no one could ever possibly match. And I was like, well, this is dumb now. I mean, then why even have the question?
I understand like that there is a certain level of argument to where they're trying to be like, no, we're trying to actually like come to like a well thought out and informed decision of like who we think would win. But I honestly do feel that like, if you're going to go to that level, then you can't also then go as like, yeah, but this power just trumps everything because of the narrative powers of it. And it's like, all right, well then what's the point of all the maths?
I want to do normal people death battle where it's Chinatsu from Blue Box versus like Iruka from We Never Learn. It's just nonsense.
So Chinatsu forcefully pulls Taiki into the bed, and in one of her more forward moments, honestly. And they're both just under the covers now. And I think that there is kind of like a moment of realization that she has too once they're actually there and lying next to each other based on the expression that she makes. And they're both like, well, this is just going to be really hard for us to sleep now. But, they eventually settle in. Chinatsu admits that like it's actually not very comfortable when they're kind of squeezed into this bed together and they're kind of uncomfortable. But she says, I said that when you're having a hard time, I would be by your side. Remember? And next time I want you and Taiki says, next time I want you by my side when I'm happy. Aww. And they cuddle in close, they kiss, and then Chinatsu says, oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sleepy.
Yeah, I relate being a sleepy queen myself. I have also been like, oh, sorry, I'm just, like just pass out immediately. But I really love it in that moment. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just, just immediately out.
Taiki does have a little moment where he's like, she's so fucking cute. And then he's like, I'm aware of how weak that I am, but I've got someone like this on my side. So he says quietly to her, I'm going to nationals. And he finally settles in. And he thinks to himself that his strength is believing that he can be the strongest person there is as long as Chinatsu is by his side. Taiki wakes up the next morning. Chinatsu's gone from his bed.
She's the ghost, just like
she's a ghost. Immediately, Taiki thinks, maybe it was all a dream. Goes downstairs. Oh, there she is.
Why would you assume that? Like, she kissed you. Like, you guys had a feeling moment. I like the idea that he's like, must have been my dreams. Like, what's... Okay.
Nicole has confessed to me forgetting some really weird things when she has been sleepy and we've been interacting.
Trust me. I have woken up. I've been in conversations with my boyfriend, apparently fallen asleep, and then at some point woken up in my bed upstairs, and I'm like, I don't know how I got here. I just could assume everything's fine. No need to investigate this part of my life.
So he goes downstairs, and not only is Chinatsu there, but both his parents are there. His mom is out of the hospital, and she reports that, yeah, yesterday they said that I could leave early. And she says, like, I left you a message, didn't you see it? And he's like, I had a lot going on yesterday. So he just missed all of that. So Chinatsu is also there, and I think that she just kind of like had the excuse of like, oh yeah, I heard you were at the hospital, so I came to visit. No one knows that she spent the night. But this, of course, means that, yeah, she's there, and she's like, here, eat your breakfast and get to practice. And so he's got his support system back, right as he has finally gotten through that mental block with Chinatsu's help. Hooray!
Yes. I think this is a fun chapter. It is interesting. We still haven't like addressed the butterfly in the room, so to speak.
Hey.
But I think it's actually kind of fine. I want that to, because I think the way that we're going to choose to address it is Taiki will tell Chinatsu, but we're not going to make the drama out of it. That's not really what this series is about. So I think it's going to be brought up more naturally there. I am curious, though, going into this tournament, what's going to ultimately happen. Like, logic would say you'd want Taiki to make it to nationals. But who knows? I mean, it seems like it's going to be a very emotional tournament for Taiki, no matter what way things go down.
Yeah, either he goes down or Kyo does. So
Kyo.
It's not gonna be happy for everyone, no matter what. So
I hope on the scoreboard it says Kyo. Kyo. A little smaller version. Yes, good times. And
that means Kyo can never actually win because, like, the O's take up the scoreboard. He can never actually win sets.
Well, I know one O he won't have to worry about. That's the O in Oregon.
That's right. Both of them. Chainsaw Man.
That's right, there's
Chapter
two.
Yes. Oh no. Chapter 221, Safe Battle. Detroit has collapsed into a weapon. But just Detroit, the physical land and buildings and stuff. All the people get dumped out into the patch of, I guess, the greater Lake Michigan now, because of that. Fumiko, one of her clones, I guess, is there. She starts to attack Chainsaw Man with an Oregon sword, not just Detroit. Cuts Chainsaw Man in half and is like, haha, I win! And then the damage is instantly healed. Chainsaw Man just seals back up together, starts to attack her, and now we get confirmation that actually Yoru has forgotten. Like, she doesn't know what Chainsaw Man has eaten. So she says, it's like an end to our battle no longer exists. So now she calls out to the people of Oregon, and all of the people that are in the ocean start to vanish. And Fumiko just says, huh.
I love the little
Existence.
aww. Like warp
So-
warp.
Yoru unleashes a super Oregon slash with her state sword. Oh, man.
I'm so confused. Was it ever explained why she took over the state of Michigan and the sword is the Oregon sword?
I think that we just skipped that part, I
Like,
guess.
did I mistake that, or like, did maybe Oregon get like accidentally like labeled as Michigan the first time?
I don't know.
I like the idea that Yoru doesn't know the difference between the states, but it doesn't matter because like whatever her will is still done. So it's like Detroit sword. It's like, well, you got Oregon, but close
Oh,
enough.
here's Oregon. But she unleashes the mighty Oregon slash against Chainsaw Man, who freaking explodes into blood and guts, and then instantly regenerates and is fine. So Yoru's like, this is the end, Chainsaw Man. Behold my trump card. People of Virginia, nuclear punch! And we get a close-up of her striking Chainsaw Man in the face. Pink! Huge flash of light. Blows away everything. End of chapter.
What a wild series this is right now. Like, she has taken out like 3 states, it seems like. She has just nuked something. Like, just the untold destruction currently happening right now is wild. It does seem as though we are nearing the end of Chainsaw Man Part 2, if nothing else. Because I really don't know how you continue from this.
You top this, right?
Like, you just nuclear punch something, and I just don't know. There's no escalation from that. It's truly about as crazy as you can get. So I guess we
Death
know.
is already erased. Like, you can't... right?
I guess we know now why it was like noted before that they were like at 9:03, death is reporting, Michigan ceases to exist or something like that. It's like, well, because a lot of other very crazy things are going to be happening now, and at some point we want to pinpoint when the nuke punch happened. So, we just gotta fit everything in.
Yeah,
All right.
Stuff's getting crazy. Really enjoying this this very hectic stretch, though. Let's do Dandadan.
Yes, Dandadan, Nick. This is chapter 218. He's a mummy, isn't he? So, last chapter, Okarun got stabbed
Yeah, it sucked.
in the shoulder. This chapter, it's
he's fine.
revealed, based on the perspective before, it looked like it was kind of like hey, he might have just been impaled. Not a good thing to have happen, but a definitely non-lethal strike to the shoulder is what happened. But Driss is just pulling the blade out and going to attack again until Momo dives over and kind of brings him, I was going to say to the ground, but to the floating kanji symbol on the road that no longer exists. Okarun's like, why did you do that? You need to go get Gigi. And she's like, no way ever. It's too dangerous here. So Okarun's like, all right, fine. If you're going to stay here, hold on to me tight and don't fall, basically. And then he thinks, and he's like, actually, hey, when you were in elementary school, Miss Seiko taught you a spell to bring up your ki, right? And she's like, how do you know about that? And he's like, no time for that. Please try to use that spell. Yeah, try to use that spell right now. It could be that you're better at using the Ogre Club than somebody like me. And Momo's like, all right, fine, I'll give it a shot. Starts, trying to mimic the symbol of it or anything like that. And, Okarun blocks another attack. And he's like, here, why don't you try holding on to it? So she's holding on to it. And she's like, no, it's no use. It's not growing at all. In a panel that I definitely saw get taken out of context and used for nefarious
She's not holding
purposes.
something right up to his crotch when she says that. Shut up, everybody. There's no visuals at all that make that in any way mean anything else.
There's no way to make something untoward about this. But Okarun says, hey, you should be much better at using your ki than I am. And we see Driss is coming in for another attack, so he's like, all right, well, just stay behind me, goes to swing the club, and as he's swinging it, the club grows larger and larger and larger until it's like basically a buster sword that just cleaves Driss straight in half. Which
Chris is like fully like still 10 feet away when it cuts through him.
Yeah, he's nowhere in striking distance. Now Driss, of course, being the mummy, just uses bandages to pull himself back together. But he has this incredibly powerful sword, although it's very small again. He's like, oh, what's up with that? Hey, could be Miss Ayase. Try to reuse that spell. And she does it again, and boom, he's got his buster sword again. So he's like, you were using your ki through me and into the ogre club. And they're like, well, I don't really get it, but it seems to be working, and we can fight him at this length. But then he turns everything dark. The entire world gets pitch black except for the kanji letters that they're standing on. And they're like, oh, I can't see him. And there's this annoying sound in the distance, this keraton kind of repeating. And they're like, I could hear it coming from every direction. We don't know where he's going to attack from. And he does attack. Ogurun does manage to block it. It's very difficult. And he's just kind of swinging wildly afterwards. So there's a moment where Momo's like, hey, turn off the club for a second. It glows like a beacon, right? So they turn it off. They still get attacked. And Ogurun barely manages to kind of block this time. And they're like, so he could see us somehow, even without this beacon light. How is he doing it? And Ogurun, in one of those moments that feels like it should have been like inspired by something, because I guess Momo just says we can't see our hands in front of our face, and it feels like she should have been like, it's so dark I can't even see an echo, because immediately Ogurun's like, echolocation. Yeah, something like that. He's like, echolocation, that's what's happening. Which they say
we can't see, just like how dolphins can't see the nets that they get stuck in.
Oh no, Ogurun's pro-dolphin net catching. He's like, I actually like a little dolphin in my tuna. It kind of brings a little extra spice. Gives it a little zip that it kind of misses otherwise. They basically are like, hey, he probably is blind and he's using that ton keraton sound to find out where we are through echolocation. Plus it makes sense. He's wearing a mask, so how could he see like through it otherwise? So makes sense. Although, how does he know that's not just what that alien's head looks like?
Makes sense in Dandadan anyways.
I was like, how do you know this? Is it just like an eye that, looks like or something along those lines? So Momo's like, all right, well, now we know his weakness, basically. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? All we know is he can't see us either. We still don't know how to beat him. And even if we slash him, he just regenerates. And Momo says, well, let's just make it so he can't regenerate, right? He's a mummy, isn't he? Chapter title. In the darkness, we hear the sound going on as Driss is coming. We just close up on Ogurun and Momo's eyes very intensely as there's build up to the big slash, and it cuts straight through Ogurun's jacket that's stuffed full of Momo's gym clothes, basically. And we see that our heroes are hanging on the kanji that is floating in, sort of the abyss. And as Driss bicycles over top of them, they grab onto the mummy bandage that he has kind of wrapped around his wheels. And Momo says, I got him. And they begin just whirling it back. And slowly, they do start to unravel the mummy creature. And they note, like, hey, his skin is exposed. And when the parts that aren't treated make contact with the air, then it very quickly decomposes. And that's how we end the chapter, with Driss breaking apart because his body has been exposed to the air.
Yeah, they start singing a Japanese children's song, which is about winding a bobbin up, and as they're doing it too. And then Momo gets upset at Ogurun for getting the words wrong as they're doing it. Yeah, I love how silly this is as a solution. But there's all the intensity contrasted with it in the actual fighting that takes place before it, and some intrigue as well in terms of like, so there's Ayase can channel ki better than Ogurun can, but only Ogurun can actually use the ogre club. So some questions to be answered there eventually. So yeah, fun chapter. We'll see if there's anything more to this battle now that the mummy guy is decomposing rapidly.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if this is intended to be just the end of the fight then, because it seems like there's still other factors going on, but yeah, I don't know how you come back from decomposing. So, unless you're the Undertaker, you can come back from anything. Remember he got buried alive?
Totally the same as decomposing.
There's only 2 people who can get out of being buried alive, Nick. Undertaker and Uma Thurman in Kill Bill 2. So. And maybe Ryan Gosling in that one movie where he gets buried alive, but I never saw it, so he might die at the end. I don't know.
Hang on. Has anyone ever actually come back from buried alive matches besides The Undertaker?
Isn't that why they used to have bells?
Apparently, Mankind has also lost some buried alive stuff. So, okay.
Mankind lost the wrestler. I thought you meant like collectively we've lost a buried alive match against Time or something like that.
Yeah. The Rock and Sock Connection lost the tag team titles in a tag team buried alive match. How? How do you do that? God damn it, Russo. You're stupid match stips. All right. Spy Family, chapter 125. Last time, Anya had discovered that somebody was framing Mr. Henderson. And so at the beginning of this chapter, she goes off to catch the bad guy. And then Becky grabs her and is like, class is starting. And Anya's like, but I gotta stop Mr. Henderson's enemy. But she loses sight of the teacher as she has to go to class. People in the class are all talking about the farewell party that's going to be held for Mr. Henderson. But as everyone walks off, Anya says, I'm not going. I'm going to catch the bad guy mastermind and make him quit making Mr. Henderson quit. And everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about? you're 6. Stop it. And they're like, how do you even know about this? And she's like, I can't let them know. I can just read minds. And so she's like, there was the teacher with the sideburns, and I saw him looking evil and going, mwahaha.
What I love is like, she's not wrong. He was doing that. And immediately, is it Connie? I think is the one Connie who comes up and is like, I saw him do that. He did do that.
She corroborates.
I love it when the world just works that way, where it's like, yeah, you know what? That's the logic of this world and children.
Quinn, let's be clear. It's not the world in general. It's other children who are like, you're right. Your logic's infallible.
But also, he as an adult man had to choose to sit there and be like, meh.
That is true. And they think about that. Connie's like, well, if he is the bad guy, maybe he left some clues in the old schoolhouse. And so Anya's like, yeah, I'm going to go and catch the ghost criminal. And Damien's like, I don't want to go. But Bill comes in and says, well, you know, it might not be as absurd as it sounds. When we snuck into the old schoolhouse the other day, we found a huge pile of papers that someone had left near the doors. New, crisp white paper. It seemed so out of place in the musty old schoolhouse. And looking back on it now, it was the same paper as those flyers that were smearing Mr. Henderson. Le gasp. So Bill says that he is going to come along with Anya and with Connie, and gradually a bunch of the other kids agree too. So Becky's coming. Damien and his flunkies are coming. And I think that George is coming too.
George is also coming, yeah.
So a whole troop of them.
I don't recall, because it's a whole chapter of like heroic sacrifices. I don't recall if George ever heroically sacrifices himself.
Well, you expect something from him?
Or if he just disappears at some point.
Just falls into it.
He's not at the end.
Just falls into some pudding and then everyone forgets about him.
I think he may have been killed by the gas at the end of the chapter. He doesn't show up again after that. Yeah, he's knocked unconscious by the gas. Okay.
Okay. So they all sneak into the old schoolhouse, but we see that Miss Schlag seems to have noticed all of this. They all go in and they immediately run into one of the gym teachers. And so he's like, this old schoolhouse is off limits. You got to get out of here. And so immediately all of the kids are like, okay, yeah, we're going to leave. But Anya can read his mind. And he is thinking like, oh, these are the same guys that were running around the other day. They're Henderson students. And Anya realizes this guy's in the bad guy gang. So Bill, very clever and large 6-year-old that he is.
Bill really, like, I know it's going to be hard to top Crow, but Bill really came close to stealing MVP this week, because this is the most I've ever cared about this boy. He's like, not only was like ride or die for Henderson, he's the first one. He's like, Let's do this. Ding,
Let's
ding.
do this.
I know you're a full-grown adult and I'm 6, but
Let's rugby.
thankfully I'm like 6'3", so this is still kind of a fair matchup.
And Bill makes this excuse of like, oh, the truth is that I had an important paper, and the coach is still like, no exceptions. And so Anya runs by him very defiantly. So he reaches out to grab her, and Bill snags his hand and then says, "Respectfully, sir, I know you're the rugby club advisor, and I wanted to be coached by you." And they start to rugby scrimmage against each other. So yes, as you had indicated before, we get a gradual string of people making heroic sacrifices so that Anya and gradually fewer students can make their way in and try and save the day. It's like, first off, Damien's flunkies get beaten by the teacher Gambits, who is the chess club advisor, who fully assaults them, just chucks pawn pieces at their heads, and they fall down the stairs. Like...
No, but no court would ever convict him because, like, come on, look at this dude. He's so nerdy. He has checkered socks. He couldn't possibly hurt children.
Look at how stupid these kids' hair is. Like, they're never gonna believe them.
I mean, every judge would be like, you slipped on a chess piece, then you deserve whatever happened. You're an idiot.
They end up just latching onto the guy in order to stop him. So then everyone else manages to make it to the third floor, where they're confronted by Dr. Benzine, who is wearing a gas mask and commits chemical warfare against 6-year-olds. Like, he uses some sort of relaxant against them, I suppose, but even so, you're poisoning children and doing this.
I mean, he's already part of an evil organization, so, I mean, like, really, where's the line for him?
So everyone starts to kind of get knocked out, but fortunately, Becky, spoiled girl that she is not that affected by it because she's so used to smelling sweet perfumes, and she...
What an amazing piece of logic, by the way.
Honey gives her a couple of pieces of garlic so that she can break them under Damien and Anya's noses, and the three of them rush off while Connie uses the cursed prison of binding chains of constricting hatred, which is a piece of string that she's got that she's managed to stack in the guy's belt.
I love it. He's like, I'm immobilized completely. It's like, well, thank God you're wearing that stupid mask, or else you'd probably just see that it's a string.
It's just a 6-year-old who was latched onto you, that's it. So Damien, Becky, and Anya are the only three left in the group. They're running around the fourth floor now, trying to find where the bad guy is that's hiding out, trying to sabotage Mr. Henderson. And they start to think about the ghost that they think that they saw before. And so they're thinking about that. And as they're running around, they go to the fine arts room, and they see a mysterious, ghostly figure in a big old cloak that's going fa 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 fa, and they all freak out over it because they think it's a ghost.
Yep, it is a fun chapter. I like how we kind of managed to get a slight battle manga out of the non-battle character of Spy Family, and that it's like very action-packed, and it's just like silly joke after silly joke, but it works. It was like kind of compelling to see all these, tertiary Eden's Academy characters, whatever the name of the academy is. Yeah, very, very low tier characters getting to do something heroic. And I do like that. Except for George. Who, again, fell asleep in sort of a panel background, in case you're curious where he is.
Yeah. All right. Hero Girl and Demon Lord call it quits. Chapter number 3. The two previous generations stop. So Asuka and the Demon Lord contact Asuka's father and grandfather, the two previous generations of Hero, to say like, hey, by the way, we're hanging out and we're living together. And one of the only times that I looked at this series and was like, oh, a joke, is we get a montage of like the two of them going, ah! And immediately racing to go to Asuka's and like flying there, while we on the other side get like the way that Asuka and the Demon Lord's day goes, which fully includes her going to class and coming back.
Yeah, because like they're like, well, we know what's happening. Like like she's immediately like, all right, they're both screaming and on their way here, so let's clean up, let me get dressed, let me go to school, like all that sort of stuff.
We're introduced to Arata and Myojo, who are Asuka's father and grandfather, and they're immediately like, what the hell is he doing here? The Demon Lord is very nice and, tries to be like a good host, make tea for people and stuff like that. And the joke very quickly becomes that Asuka's father is freaking out over all of this. Her grandfather is surprisingly like quick to get okay with this. Harata accuses the Demon Lord of, like putting hands on Asuka, and we just do flashback to when, he did kind of like grab her for a bit when protecting her. That's about it. Yep. So stuff happens. Look, like I would say what the highlights are in terms of jokes. I did not care for any of them though, so I can't really like say that I found any of them funny or unfunny. They just were there. So eventually Arata manages to accept the situation at least, and they leave after Asuka tells them like, yeah, I'm really happy with this situation. The Demon Lord has at least momentarily convinced them that, yep, war is over. And then they go to leave. So they go to the airport. And Arata's like, I still don't trust this. I feel like I should have stayed behind. And Myojo says, she told us she was fine. We should trust her. And says, if I said I wasn't worried about anything, I would be lying, but I'm going to trust her. And he thinks back to when she was just a little girl and like did like a pinky swear with her to like always be on her side. Yay. Yep. So then they get into an argument over which of them loves her more for some reason. So, but Myojo says, when we arrived at her place, they were playing the same game. And Arata's like, okay, I guess that means that they were getting along pretty well then. And then he says, how do you know it was the same game? And Myojo's like, oh, Asuka invited me to play too. And Arata's like, she didn't invite me to play. Correct. Because you were not cool about the whole thing. That's the joke.
I think it is a little bit funny that both generations of heroes show up and you would expect them both to be really upset with it. But we just turned the middle generation, the dad, into like the irrational one, and the granddad's like, no, everything you're doing makes a lot of sense. This actually sounds like a pretty good situation.
I do see that, yeah.
I think there's something a little funny in that. I also do think that these are two good characters to like kind of establish early on in this, because the series kind of lacks for a larger cast. So like there's only so much I think you can do with these two right now. So it's nice that there's like more characters around. But that's of course to a larger discussion, Nick, that this is chapter 3 of Hero Girl, Demon Lord, Call It Quits. Are we going to keep talking about it in the recap?
I don't think that people understand how miserable I will make every discussion about this series if we cover it.
Okay, well, I will just say...
It's not even a matter of, like, me not liking it. It's going to be... It won't be fun when I talk about it.
I will say I had no intention to continue reading this. This is not... I think I like it maybe a little bit more than you do, but that is still to say I do not particularly like this series. It's just not my sense of humor, really, and it's not really giving me much outside of that. So, yeah, I think I'm happy to let this one go off, and we'll see if it becomes the next Shinobi Underground.
I guess so. I guess we will find that out. Let's move on to Hima-Ten, Chapter 68. Quinn?
More like Hima 68.
Thank you. Yes, Celebration Kana. Kana is in a shampoo commercial at the start of this chapter.
It's such an odd chapter or page, because the very top you're like, what an extraordinarily detailed shampoo jar, and then you're like, oh, and there's Kana naked. Okay, why did we start this chapter in the shower? Oh
man, this is a really good salon treatment thing. And she's like, yeah, I'm still new town, stuff like that. But she's like, I get to celebrate with a meal from Iamori. Hooray. We're going to be fulfilling that promise from back before I moved here. Huzzah. So Kana is going off to meet Iamori for their movie date that she wanted from her Christmas gift. She shows up looking all fashionable and stuff. And Iamori is kind of flustered because even though it is winter, she dressed to look hot for their date.
She is wearing a mini skirt.
Yeah, it's quite a short skirt, and also she's shown some cleavage in the top. It's not like she looks horribly scandalous, but it's like I don't know if I would like advise you to do this in the middle of winter.
This is like a very fashionable outfit. It is one where you're like, this is you might have gone a little overboard on this one, honey, but you know what? You're trying to take your shot, and this is the outfit you feel the cutest in. Great. It's not going to be the most comfortable as you walk around. Everyone else is in like full coats and scarves on.
Yeah. And Kana, it's like kind of trying to be confident and tease Iamori and say like, "Hey, am I too glad to hang out with you? I really wanted to I wanted to, make a really strong first impression, but you'll get used to it." But Iamori just says like, I mean, like, is it okay for your career if you're seen like on a date with me? And she says, we're celebrating. I'm not going to worry about other people. I'm just going to enjoy it with you. But Iamori says, okay, well, but let's do it like out of the city so that then we can just do whatever and not have to worry about that. So fair compromise. And he does say, like, I have been looking forward to celebrating with you for a long time, which is very nice. So then, like, she kind of, like, loses a bit of her momentum, though, because she's like, I guess I'll cover up on the train. And then, like, okay, maybe I won't sit as close to you. It's like, yeah. So, they get out of the train, and once they are, she's like, okay, now you got to tell me how my outfit looks on you. And he's like, just like, you haven't commented on it yet. So she brings up like, if you would do whatever I want to celebrate, then you could start by showering me with compliments, or is that not something you're willing to do? And Iamori gets kind of flustered. And he says, you're super cute. And you look really, really good. Also, it's provocative, he says.
Yeah, I was going to say, he then kind of makes it awkward when he's like, it's kind of a provocative outfit. And I'm like, all right,
it's well. I mean, I don't know if it even really is. Like, it kind of does bring up, like, you didn't even say about the magazine pinups I just sent you.
I was going to say, that's the thing. I was like, he's never really addressed it before. And I'm like, you've seen her in a bikini on, like, a magazine centerfold. Like, it's wild that you're suddenly now, like, but at the same time, I do think her choice of attire it does push in that direction. Because, again, it is very cold out right now. So it's really one of those things where, like, I mean, it's hard not to notice it. It kind of feels like the thing you're showing off right now. I think if this were like a springtime moment, this would be like
stand out less.
Yeah, it'd be a much more acceptably cute outfit.
So they go to the movie. Turns out it's My Love Story with the Butler. It's a movie adaptation of that Butler manga that she got caught with at the start of the series.
I completely forgot that was a character trait of hers because it was endearing and fun. It isn't just a reference to the fact she has giant boobs, which is what her character has kind of progressively become. But there's even like a joke where she's like, I bet you don't even remember this about me. And it's like, I wish I did. This is a much more fun trait to show off of this character.
And Kana does say, like, we don't have to, like, see it if you're not interested in any. And Iamori's like, I really don't mind. Like, I want to watch whatever, you want to see. So, and also they can, like, get, snacks and stuff like that. But Iamori says, I don't want to get any popcorn, though, because I'm saving room for dinner. Aw, because he's going to make it. It's cute. So they get some popcorn, and Iamori's like, hey, you can have a little bit of mine. And so but when she eats it, she's like, oh, you like caramel corn too? And he says, no, but you said that you did, and we're using your gift card. I wanted to get you something that you like. Aww. They start watching the movie, and immediately Connor realizes, oh no, I I can't pay attention to it because we're right next to each other in the movie theater. I cannot take my eyes off of this guy while we're right next to each other. And so when they get out, Imora's like, "Oh, did you like it? Yeah, it was good." So Iomori brings up like, "Oh, are you still like into Butler stories and stuff?" And Kana says, ever since I moved to Tokyo, I haven't really had much time for them." But yeah. So Iomori then brings up like, "Hey, have you checked in with her? When are we gonna head over?" And Kana's like, "What are you talking about?" And he says, Yoshino. With all three of us promised that we would celebrate, your big thing, your big debut together. And we get a flashback to when Kana had a conversation with Himari about her cover debut. And Himari like came over and was like, "I wanted to talk to you as soon as I could, so I just dropped by." She looks at it and she says probably the best possible thing that she could about the very, very, very cleavagey photo of her. "You look so freaking cute." What a perfect compliment.
There are very many ways to make a compliment about someone's like sexual figure in a platonic, normal way.
So good job, Himari. She's a pro at this. So
cut over to Taiki being like, "I can see your tits in that outfit." Like, oh.
Hell yeah.
He's just high-fiving random dudes on the street. "Look at these tits I can see. High five."
So Kana brought up to Himari that I mentioned to him to Himori that I had gotten this, and so I know we're going to a movie to celebrate and stuff. And Himari says, "I thought he was like cooking for you," and Kana says, yeah, that too, yes, at your house." And Himari kind of senses what's going on, and she says, "Maybe we should have two celebrations. So you can have one with Himori, and you can have one with me." And Kana says, "What? Is there like a scheduling problem?" And Himari says, "No, but he always cooks for me anyway. And I didn't mention it to you, but I've liked Himori since summer vacation. So I understand how you feel. And you've been waiting for us to celebrate for so long. I bet you want to be alone with him." And Kana starts to get emotional, and she says, "If you were drowning, I would save you. But when it comes to work, I can't give up my spot for you because you're the competition." That's a interesting sentiment.
I have had conversations with people that express that sentiment in a way of just like, "Hey, I need you to know if you're drowning, I would save you." But the idea that you would then on a dime be like, "But you are the competition, so, eat shit, nerd," or whatever. I do like how they immediately turn into like, no, they're still on the same page. They're still very good friends. Yep. They're just both gonna openly pursue this boy.
Having experienced the number of romantic comedy, harem series, love triangles that I have, I feel pretty positive about this "oh, we both have a crush on the same boy" conversation, which is something that is, a standard for that type of series. And a lot of times it feels not genuine. And I think that we've seen enough of Kana and Himari's relationship to be like, no, this is absolutely like the way that this would go down between them. It feels right. Back to the present, Kana basically just gave the explanation like, "Oh, she can't make it because of work." So, as a result of that, she says, "You're all mine." And she gives him a big, bright smile. So they're going to have dinner at her place instead. So they go to Kana's apartment. And Iomori's like, "Oh, it's been forever since I last visited." And Kana says, "Yeah, have you ever cooked for someone when it's not for work or your family?" And Iomori's like, "No, I guess this is the first time." So, yeah, because it's always been just like, Himari just pays him for work and stuff. But he says, "Yeah, this is for your celebration." He says, "I'm not a pro or anything, but I don't casually cook for people." And Kana says, "Then you'll make it special just like when you cook for work." And that's it. That's the chapter as they start to head into the apartment.
The way the last panel was framed almost made it seem like there's something insidious in
There's
the
a killer
apartment.
in there.
Like I was like, are they gonna get trapped in the apartment like it's a Saw trap or something like that? Like what is this panel? Is there like a murderous clown waiting for them? But I guess it's just meant to give a different perspective on it. The chapter's fine. It's fine. It's just not. She's not the best girl in this series anymore, and what made her more interesting has slowly kind of drifted away, and now it's just kind of I don't know, she's fine, but she's just like, she's kind of got that like Asta, like, I'm gonna be the wizard king, like, I'm gonna be super successful. Yeah. There's just like this like big proclamation every week that just...
This does definitely have a bit of a and also me kind of energy to it. It doesn't seem to really showcase Kana's most endearing qualities as a result of that. And I think it's because she's trying to be like her best date self, which means that she's not kind of as genuine as she would normally be, in a sense.
Which is a shame because she was so successful when she did the date with Taiki's, or not Taiki, Iamori's younger sister and siblings. Like, I was like, just do that kind of thing again. But
yeah. All right. Moving on over to Oter of the Flame. Can you believe it? It's already time for that. Chapter 20, Oter's Memories. What memories does Oter have? He made a stool.
I mean, it's a pretty cool stool, so...
It's a big old sturdy stool, and then after he makes it...
They didn't have the internet, so for them, this was like the Kendrick Jake beef. Like, this was like the craziest thing. They're like, Oter made a stool! Like, we're gonna be talking about this for weeks!
It starts to snow as soon as he makes the stool. They head inside, and it starts to get cold. And then his sister Sana recognizes, like, "Huh, your chair only has 3 legs. Did it break?" And yeah, he sacrificed one of the legs of his stool.
Not the stool. I love
Stoolie,
that.
No.
I love that stool.
So he just says, "Ah, yeah, you can sit on a chair that's got 3 legs. It's fine." But then we see him like trying to catch food and stuff, and like the fish are already like dying as they're being pulled out of the river. His fingers are getting all frostbitten and stuff. And then of course they're entrusted with looking after the farm and everything. And so the memory is, yeah, winter sure sucked when it came in. We didn't have a mom. So that's kind of it. In terms of the memories he had to share with Filgia, to which I say, yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, but all right.
Thank you, Oter. I finally understand you in your life with that sad stool story you had to tell me.
It was cold and hard. Like, yeah, it seemed that way from the first chapter. I get it. Like,
Filga, hold on. I'm glad you told me about this previous user of you who, burned everything up and how it's, deeply important. Let me tell you about this one time I had to break a stool that I had just made so I could use one of its legs for firewood. So you
Zoro, Zoro, she fell down the stairs.
She's like, wait, you don't have that stool anymore? It's like, no, I still do. It's only 3 legs still.
Yeah, and so they come out of the flashback, says, "I don't have a painful past like you, Filkia." Well, why do we do the painful past flashback in the end of the last chapter for you?
I was like, if I cut back to last week where like, I can't wait to see what Oter's got hiding in his backstory. It's like, well, he made a stool once. And sometimes he would try to fish and his fingers would hurt. And I'm like, okay, man, like...
Like, I'm not saying that, like, oh, there isn't signs of, like, man, this was hard for Oter. It's like, I get that, but it's not new information for the reader if you have been following the series long enough to care about this shit. So...
I mean, if you look back at recent episodes of Weekly Manga Recap, though, I have asked, like, I don't know, do you think Oter ever had a stool at some point in his life? Like he was fighting the fucking bad guy, and I'm just like, well, I know this attack was super cool, and he's like getting taken over, but do you think at some point he had like a stool with a mildly complicated relationship with?
He's like on the verge of death. He's like, if only I had a 5-legged stool.
I could have broken off one of its legs, used it for kindling, and had 4 legs left afterwards. The normal amount for a stool. That's the lesson he's learned from. He's like, anytime you carve a stool, carve 1 extra leg than you need, because you may have to break that leg off for kindling.
Oh my god. So yeah, Otra says, he comes out of this like, I had all these dreams of being a warrior, but I didn't have the power to fight. I didn't have the courage to march to death. I spent my days just trying to survive. I didn't have anything except a 3-legged stool.
Except my trusted 3-legged stool. It's been with me through so much.
But then Philga came into his life, and she says, "You gave me a sword and shield, and thanks to you, I met all these people.
This is way better than a stool. I have
This is so much
firepower.
I don't even need to break a stool in order to set stuff on fire now."
This is amazing. This is going to solve all my stool-related problems.
Oh man, that's a load off my mind, which is great because I can't sit anywhere right now. I don't have a stool. You gave me more than my 2 hands could hold on their own. And then Philgia, like she takes that in and she's like, oh, that's nice. And then she's like, yeah, but that's why I'm afraid of burning everything down. And fire massively swirls around all of them. And in the physical world, like, Odor's body is just on fire. And I love Atapirko's reaction, which says, whoa!
This can't be good. Like, she's suddenly now like a sitcom character. She's like, uh-oh.
So Oter takes this in, and he remembers, some of the advice that he has gotten in the work matter and like spiritually related matters. And then he remembers that he calmed down when Atapirko gave him a hug. So he just goes in towards Philga and says, don't underestimate me, and just starts to break through, and they start to like spar. I think it's kind of hard to see what's going on now, because now all of a sudden the panels with all the action are really small and their heads are really big and they're covered up by dialogue bubbles and stuff. So she brings up like, well, Doa like blew off your arm and stuff. I'm not being crazy about this. And Oda says, that was just from an unfortunate combination of unfortunate things. And she's like, yeah, but then I became a demigod and I could withstand it, so I'm strong, right? And Philga doesn't have a retort for that. And so Oda says, anyway, which is not something you should ever say in a very passionate argument. So she says, look, my point is, I'm stronger now. I'm different from back then when I had nothing. I'm strong enough to fight a spirit like you now. And Philga thinks to herself, humans grow so fast. You grow so fast! You look like an adult now! You looked like a twig with a head before. So she now thinks that Oda is super reliable and stuff. We cut back to the outside where Atapirko has just been like, I've got water, but what do I do? And Hugin says, well, don't be hasty. And then fire explodes off of Oter, and when it clears off, he's in the demigod form, but he's like way more stable and not all bestial and stuff like that. He and Philga are in control of the form, and so they're gonna go off. They're gonna go and help out in the battle. And hooray!
And it's like a kind of satisfying moment. I do like, hey, we got his cool demigod form, and he's able to control it. It's like, okay, these are all cool things, but yeah, I don't know if like the scene to get here worked perfectly. Like, I like the idea behind it more than the actual execution of it. And as said, it really doesn't explain why Oda ended the last chapter being like, let me tell you some more about myself. Life sucked. Anyways, thanks for coming into it. Like, I was like, all right, man, you don't like have like specific anecdotes you want to tell me besides the stool and the river thing? Like,
But I just know that with your powers, I'll be able to make all the three-legged stools I want. In fact, they don't have to just have 3 legs.
I like the idea that he stops though. He's like, it's how I stay humble. No chair had 4 legs. Like, you know, that's you know what I always, you gotta stay hungry. You know, it's.
And so passed the great hero, three-legged stool Oter,
He's like,
who was renowned across the land for sitting only in three-legged stools. Did also have the flame spirit, but it was the stools that were most important.
I want to be flame sword Oter. No, he's three-legged stool Oter.
Have some respect.
They put his stool in like the museum and not his swords or anything.
Every now and again, someone comes out and says, it's just a fucking stool.
They shoot him. That's the only time they have guns.
We invented firearms purely for the sake of executing people who insult three-legged stool Oter's stool. Oh, God.
Very,
Quinn!
very, very silly.
It's time. We've got someone Hertz. Chapter 11, let's swap. Oh, boy. Mizuo is distracted by a thought as she is sitting down with Mime and says, I'm collecting money from everyone to make a fish movie. And Mime says, oh, crowdfunding Nemo. But
I actually kind of like that joke. It's pretty good.
Mizuo's friends then show up, and we get them I think a flashback of them being like, you've got to help her study. She's doing really, really bad in math. And they say like, yeah, she's like just completely given up on that makeup quiz that she has to take because of when she had a cold recently. And they're like, aren't you, her, and Mimi's like, I'm her friend. And then he thinks to himself, although I'm actually her rival. Okay. Okay, dude.
You gotta love his confidence. So this is a guy who's got like, suddenly is now like interacting in more social ways. He's like, well, we're rivals. You don't understand. There's a very prominent and prestigious 3 a.m. podcast we like to listen to.
At that point, Mizuo comes into the classroom and her friends are like, you gotta have this guy help you study for the quiz. And she's like, huh?
I like that. Yeah, they grab onto her like Sailor Fuko part and just like hanging her up. Like you gotta take a test. Teach
I wanted to listen to the radio after school. No test. It's very cute. So yeah, they end up in the library. And she just is constantly on. Like, she can't stop thinking of non sequiturs and references and stuff.
I know so many of these people. They're the most infuriating. Absolutely. I think this was me at one point in time, by the way. You truly become one of the most insufferable human beings on the planet. The person who can't stop doing bits.
No. So even like as they're left alone together, like because Mizuo's friends head off, like, we got to go to school club. Don't fucking let her not study. And she's immediately like, now that they're off their club, let's list them on me. And he's like, no, we've got to make sure you don't fail your test. So he says, you can listen to the radio after you get a good score. And so then she's like, all right, well, why don't we just study and have some KFC? And what do you say? And he says, nay. Hey. So he keeps on like trying to get her to like, go over formulas and stuff. And then when he pulls out like his math booklet, Mizuo recognizes that there's like all these like tabs and it's all beat up and stuff. And he says, yeah, I've spent a lot of time using it and studying from it. And so Mizuo asks, how are you able to just try so hard at everything you do? And Mime thinks for a second. He says, I guess everyone who says to me, you can do it, and puts their faith in me, I want to live up to that, no matter what I have to do.
That's a sweet sentiment. I do kind of find myself very endeared by it.
So Mizuo thinks for a second, and she points at herself and is like, "Do you think I can do it?" And he says, "Of course I do." And she's like, "I'll try my best then." That's very sweet, honestly. I really like this conversation between them. So she studies as much as she can, and then it's time for her to take her test. She goes off, comes back an hour later. She doesn't do great, but apparently for her, it's good.
Passing,
So it's
usually,
passing.
yeah.
It's passing.
I also do like that this is a test that they grade immediately, so she gets it back. I've submitted projects I haven't gotten grades back for in like 3 weeks, so I'm like, wow,
I think
the same
because
day.
it's a makeup, so she had to have it graded back really quickly.
Gotcha.
She notes because she rushed off in order to take the test that she accidentally grabbed Mime's mechanical pencil, and he's like, "Oh, and that's fine." And Mizuho says, "Maybe I did so well because this pen's all chock full of your effort." And Mime's like, "Oh, maybe do you want to like keep it then?" I mean, you don't like need to. It immediately feels awkward about that. It's like, "Oh, I didn't mean anything by that. You can just give it back." And Mizuho says, "No, I'm not giving it back. It's mine now."
That's actually
And then she says, "I'm going to use it to fight hitmen." What does that mean?
Well, they make a Sakamoto Days joke afterwards.
Oh, I don't know what that is. So, and then Mizuho's like, "Hey, you said that we could listen to Mon Mid afterwards." And so he's like, "Yep, sure." And then just kind of immediately is like, "Oh, I shouldn't have I just gave her an earbud without thinking." It's kind of like a weird, intimate gesture. And then he brings up do you think that they'll yell at us for listening in the library? And so Mizuho says, "Well, let's swap then." And so she gives the earbud back so that they can each have the earbud that is facing the window. And we get this kind of 2-page spread of the two of them just listening together. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
This is a great summary of just the series as a whole up to this point of the two of them just chilling and listening together while Mime's a little bit flustered. And then we get Quinn, the weekly prompt, which is cheer up a kappa down in the dumps. And we get some examples of that. Quinn, we finally have an opportunity to answer the Someone Hertz prompt. What do you got?
Are we doing it now or at the end of the chapter?
I think we might as well do it now.
Okay. Cheer up a kappa down in the dumps. Let me pour that water out of your dish and replace it with a refreshing lemon LaCroix.
All right. Cheer up a kappa down in the dumps. Cheer up, pal. I'm sure the next 4-year-old won't know how to swim.
Jesus.
They drown children. That's one of the things they do.
All right. Next time I'm coming with a little bit more of a heater. Jesus.
I don't know. Everything else I thought I was I don't like that. Yeah, there's something about cucumbers and shit that I don't understand in some of the responses that they get. And there's one that is Shiri Kodama souls, and I'm I don't know enough about Vocalor to understand any of these references.
I mean, that one wasn't too bad because you can tell it's just meant to be next year we'll go to the Kiyoshi kind of speech or whatever. I don't know what that's referencing,
Right.
but I was I pick up the cadence. I get it.
Mizuho gets one read on the air, and we may react to "Ah!" And then he realizes oh shit, I'm in the library, I gotta be quiet. And he's like, "Oh, you did send one in." And Mizuho says, "Yeah, I came up with one before I got the fever in the previous chapter. Hers is, it's the river's fault, not yours." It's very good positive reinforcement, and I at least understand where it's coming from. Mime says, "Oh man, I gotta keep up the pace because if I get 3 entries read each week from now on, I could make the listener Koshian." And then he thinks to himself, I admit it's gonna be hard for me to do that though. Getting a 3rd entry read on air finally let me gauge the distance, and I can see my goal, but it's so far away. It's not adoration. It's something I'm feeling for the first time. Frustration. And yeah, he doesn't get anything right on the air. And so Mizuho's like, yeah, sorry. Yeah, too bad. But
He's like, I sent
then,
this one lemon LaCroix zinger though, and I got nothing.
then, sorry, I also like the submission from Ninja X3I, which is butts, 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 butts. The only joke from Yokai Buster Murakami that I still remember. Mizuho then pulls out her own pen and says, "Here, this is chock full of my effort, so you can get read on the air more.
Aww.
I know you can do it, Mime." Aww. So, then afterwards, like she celebrates with her friends. They're like, "Yeah, we knew you could do it." She gets head pats.
I need this kind of support network where I can get a 68 on a test and everyone still calls me a good girl. Everyone's like, "You did it! This is incredible."
And then we just cut to later on in the day when, Mime is trying to work on one-liners. And he looks down at the pen that Mizuho has gifted him and thinks, I'm going to catch up. I swear I'll catch up. Yeah. Cute chapter. Oh, nice stuff.
Very, very cute chapter. I liked it a lot. Yeah, I'm enjoying I'm enjoying the building romance in this. Like before it was kind of like, oh, this is just cute. But now I'm starting to be like, these two actually really work well together. I kind of am rooting for these two. And it's nice to have another very innocent romance series in Jump right now.
Yeah, I do like that we get to see in this chapter how well they kind of help to bolster each other from their weaknesses. Mizuho has a problem focusing. Mime helps to center that. But Mizuho's got all this quiet confidence that Mime lacks. And she kind of can turn that back and give him some. And that's nice.
Absolutely. Nick, it's time to get our ultimate exorcist Kiyoshi on.
Yes, with chapter 70, Kiyoshi in the demon realm is like a moth to a flame. The squad have all busted in with Shishido's power to just make a car.
It's a pretty good power.
They're in Hell's Lulu's domain. Lulu comes out and she's me like, "You're so loud and angry. Are you getting enough calcium?" And Shishido says, "Nah, my diet's been all iron this morning." But bum. And then they realize like Helzagaga's not there. And Lulu says, "Oh yeah, listen to this. He's always been so impatient. Even though we agreed that we'd attack tomorrow, he just went off and started the invasion all by himself. He was all worked up saying, 'I'm gonna kill Shishido,' and then ran off." So, Tosaka and Shuten are like, "God damn it, we just missed each other. What are we gonna do?" But Shishido is already reacting. He repurposes the car into a pair of cool bikes and says, "We're gonna use these to go back to the Roth territory." Sosuke says, "Well, but what are we gonna do?" And Shishido says, you're gonna worry about me, Hitsuki? Don't worry, I got this. Solo performance will be enough to bring down the house." So he's sending everyone else off in order to stop Helzagaga while he throws down with Helzalulu. And he's gets all set to do that and says, "We'll meet up at Bobo's castle when we're done." So they get on their bikes and start to ride off. It's like, "Oh, you're so cool, but are you gonna be okay? Do you think you could take me on alone?" And Shishido says, "No biggie. A little adversity just adds a nice bit of spice." Because everything he says is a cool food pun, but he's cool. Everyone races off. Kiyoshi is worried about Mr. Yamada. We cut to elsewhere in the Roth territory where Hydraco, who survived the battle and is still around,
Okay.
is defending the territory because she says it still belongs to Lord Roth and whatever belongs to Lord Roth belongs to me. And she is still infatuated with Roth, even though he's very dead now. But then someone from Gaga's army, the third executive in Gaga's army, Egawa, sneaks up on her and stabs her right in the stomach, causing her to collapse. And goes to finish her off, only to get blown the hell up by Kiyoshi, who arrives in the nick of time. And because he's wearing his ultimate disguise, hood and sunglasses, for a second she mistakes him as Astaroth instead, before realizing, oh wait, it's Kiyoshi Hirai. And then she starts to realize, like, wait a minute, and starts to attack Kiyoshi by wailing on him in the least effective manner possible, and says, give him back. I don't know he can do that.
What if he could? He's like, hold on, let me take all the pieces, just smush them back together.
Kiyoshi's like, I thought you died. And she says, even if I get dragged into the abyss of death, my unending love for Lord Roth will bring me back again and again via the power of love. But then she's like, why did you save me? And Kiyoshi's like, because I'm trying to protect the innocent demons in the Roth territory, and you would be a huge help to that, so let's work together. And immediately Hachiko's like, oh boy, this guy's super dreamy, because, that's a great.
You gotta do it. You gotta have every character find the main character attractive. It's just the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's great when characters have one trait. So, Kiyoshi entrusts this area with her, goes to catch up with Tosaka, and Tosaka reports like, yeah, things are looking really bad because there's just this all-out assault that is going on across this entire massive area. Shuten and Hitsugi are already headed for Gaga, which means that we have to figure out how to protect the suburbs ourselves. And of course, Kiyoshi knows, like, this is a problem because I can only go all out for 3 minutes. How do I protect everyone across this huge, massive area? And so Tosaka's like, man, if only we could just gather everyone to one place. And then Kiyoshi realizes what he has to do. We cut over to Mr. Yamada in a crowd. He's with his family, and there is like this kaiju-like demon that is just devouring stuff, rampaging around the town. And Yamada's son is terrified, so Yamada braces himself. He takes a deep breath to calm down, comforts his son, and says, take care of your mom for me. He instructs everyone to start running and to not look back. And then he stands up on a roof with a baseball bat, tells the kaiju demon, come and get me. And he's just going to be a diversion so that they can get to safety. Unfortunately, the large demon immediately squashes him.
He doesn't give a ton of time, so... Like, his kid and wife are still nearby to be like, Dad, no!
No, don't. The large demon mocks him and says, like, you should offer yourselves up to us top-level demons. And he just blasts the guy in the eye. Baseball bat. Unfortunately, that's about all he can do. Yamada starts getting the life squeezed out of him. And then, off in the distance, there is a huge bolt of energy that shoots up into the sky as Kiyoshi yells out, Kiyoshi Hirai is right here. And immediately all the demons in the area turn and look. The large demon even drops Yamada completely. And Kiyoshi says, y'all want a piece of me, right? Bring it. I'll exercise the hell out of all of you. Yeah, plan.
Yeah, it's a good chapter. I like it. We're bringing the dad back in. That's fun. I do, even though it's wild to me that she's the character who showed up, I do like at least the continuity of a Draco showing back up again. Hey, let's use one of these characters again. And yeah, story's just moving in unpredictable directions. I don't know who's going to be necessarily doing what, but, a lot of moving pieces right now that make things fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. To Marriagetoxin, Quinn. Chapter 147. Last time we found out that Arashiyama and Ushio were on their way to try and save the day. And we get a flashback from Arashiyama's perspective. And she kind of like reintroduces herself and she's like, I'm Kimie Arashiyama, the hamster user. This is my partner, Sirius. Sirius pops up. And she says, like, this is a photo of my idol, Hikaru Gero. And she says, like, yeah, I started my own detective agency so that I could become more worthy of him and also so that I could find my missing brother. And she says, like, yeah, I've been getting jobs. Things have been running smoothly. And today I finally get the chance to go on a date with my idol. Should I confess my feelings for him once again? Do I have the guts to? And then Gero didn't show up because, he'd been imprisoned. So First, Arashiyama did panic and was like, oh my god, he's already an hour late. He hasn't reached out at all. Does he hate me now? Is he mad I rescheduled the specialist master's interview? And then Sirius goes, beep! And she's like, you know what? You're right. He's not that kind of man. Good. It didn't stay in the panic for very long. But at that moment, the mouse boss showed up from the island where she kind of extended her abilities and stuff. And so she's like, "What are you doing here?" And the mouse boss goes, "Squeak, squeak." What's that, lassie?
Yeah, it's got real "what's that, lassie" energy. Garo's trapped
like,
in the prison.
Hikaru Garo's been imprisoned in the sanctuary. What's the sanctuary? She doesn't know what it is. But she's like, whatever, gotta go save him. So she heads off with Sirius and the mouse boss in order to go and save the day. But then she learns it's out in the middle of the ocean. So she approaches Ushio to hire her. And she's like, yeah, it's apparently in the middle of the ocean. So I'm hoping that you'll give me a lift. And Ushio's like, do you know what the sanctuary is? That's where specialists go to get locked up and die. No one's ever escaped from there. It's managed and operated by the head of your family, Tonoko Dogo. And there's rumors that Toshiro Dogo is being kept alive there as well. And then she points out, this doesn't add up. How does the mouse boss know about Garo-sama's current predicament? And the mouse boss goes, been caught out. But Arashiyama says, even so, I'm still gonna go. If Hikaru Garo were in my shoes right now, I'm sure he would make the same decision, even if he knew a trap was waiting for him. And that gets Ushio to stand up and take notice. And she's like, all right, I'm not going to refuse work as long as I'm getting paid. So they set off with Arashiyama just grabbing a hold onto Ushio's back. She did not even change her clothes to go on this voyage across the ocean, by the way. She's just in her dress and top and stuff. So Ushio runs off, swims off with her in tow, and then as they're going along, as they're approaching the facility, Arashiyama says, hey, number 86 of my reasons that I stand Hikaru Garo. And Ushio's like, she has been talking about him the whole trip. Like, there is the note that she's like, I mean, I get it. Yes. Yeah, I get it. But she just won't shut up about this guy. And eventually she's like, hey, this is just my opinion. As long as you're just behaving as Hikaru's fan, won't that mean it'll be difficult to have him see you as a romantic partner? And Arashiyama is quiet for a second, so Ushio goes on and says, yeah, look, I don't see Garo-sama as the kind of man who would take advantage of a fan that way. You must first establish a relationship of equal standing. And she's thinking to herself, like, why am I talking to her about this? Why am I speaking like... But Arashiyama says, you're right. And she's like, I can't help but be his fan. Maybe I'm just unfit for him. And Ushio changes tack and says, as long as you don't behave like a fan when you're in front of him, I guess it'll be fine. You should be free to see him as you wish. And so Arashiyama's like, okay, well, I'll just give you and Kyoko my booklet after I compile all my fan stuff for him. So bonds forming between them. It's nice. Mm-hmm. Ushio drops Arashiyama off at the sanctuary and says, yep, okay, they'll be on the other side of this air vent. She thinks this is it. She's going to rescue Hikaru-sama. There's nothing left for me to do. And of course, Arashiyama's like, let's go. It's like, yeah, don't you want to come? And she says, why would I do that? And Arashiyama's like, you like Hikaru Garo too, don't you? Like, it's too easy for this girl. She sees through people immediately. And Ushio gets all flustered and says, like, yeah, you seem to know him really well. Ushio very funnily, like, water guns her. Like, yeah, shut up.
Yeah, she uses, like, Squirtle playful water gun, basically.
But Ushio says, I don't take jobs based on emotion, so once the job's complete, I'm going to collect my fee from him. And I figure both of you are going to need to ride back home after this is over, won't you? So They both head down the air vent, and when they break out of it, they come across a mysterious, seemingly nude figure who has all of these wires in their back, and their hands and feet are bound. Seems to be apparently the woman that Toshiro Dogo was thinking about in the past.
Was it? Because I wasn't sure with the haircut. I was like, is that the last girl? Is this what she was up to? Is being naked in a room or something like that?
Got to be naked somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly, it's a good way to spend your life. Just be naked somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah. It is interesting. I like that this is a prison, and then there's just like this one random like woman in like a very large space, just like as you mentioned, like restrained, but just like in a giant empty space. This isn't like a prison cell or anything like that. It's just like, I don't know, just throw her in like the fucking other room or something like that. Like make sure all the diodes are still connected.
Truthfully, there is nothing stopping her from pulling out at least a few of those wires. Like she would have the leverage to do it.
Yeah.
So we cut to Garo with PK and Toshiro as they are climbing up out of the pit. Toshiro has gotten like lion claws or something to help him climb up. And so he's like, oh, so you're quitting your marriage journey, as Garo had said in the end of the last chapter. He's like, all right, so you figured out that all you've been doing has been in vain, huh? And Garo thinks to himself, I don't believe that this entire journey has been in vain. But that guy, Kinosaki, stayed close by me, sparing nothing and helping me and cheering me on. I don't think I have the heart to face him.
Very,
very interesting.
Yeah.
To see where his mind is at.
I like seeing his thought process here. A great chapter for those of us who are proudly standing the Kinosaki is the end goal route. But it's cool. It's a fun chapter. I honestly really like the scene of the two girls interacting. And I like Ushio just also being like, hey, you need to like make sure he doesn't just think of you as a fan, right? Like he needs to see that you're more than that. Like I appreciate her kind of cutting through and bringing that up.
I love socially awkward Ushio, who is like, why am I even talking to this girl? And it's like, because you want friends. Like, and you have fortunately come across someone who is as obsessed with the same man that you are. So, all right. Akane-banashi, story 184, drawing capability. No, not about, painting or anything like that. It's about another kind of drawing.
This is the kind of wrestling drawing that we've been talking about for years, Nick.
That's right. You're not a big draw.
They always said Claudio couldn't be world champion because he's not a draw, Nick. He doesn't have that drawing capability.
Yeah. Well, one person said that.
It just happened to be the most important guy in the business at that point in time.
One accused rapist said that. Yeah. So we get a flashback to begin this chapter of Akane speaking with the journalist and his granddaughter, I think it was, niece. I forget what their relationship was, but Emmy, the girl that Akane was staying with while in France. And there's, like some awkward conversation between them because of the language barrier and stuff. And then I think it's Gakuman is his name, I want to believe.
Something
asks,
like that.
how much do you know about what's happening in Rakugo in Japan? And Akane says, I've actually been going out of my way to avoid hearing anything so that I could just focus on what I'm trying to do. And Gakuman says, I see. I understand how you feel, but given your goals, I think you ought to know something. You see, Kaisei has taken the Shinuchi promotion test. We come back to the present, and there is a meetup happening in a Rakugo cafe between Akane, Karashi, Hikaru, and Tyson. And so as they're there, they're like, oh, well, you're in the Ishokai now, huh? So Karashi's like, are you incapable of breathing? without a big fight on your hands. Like, you're always getting into fights.
You're always in the most extreme, crazy, stressful situations. You never take it easy.
So Akane protests her innocence and is like, they started this one. And Tyson's like, yeah, but you fight back every time that someone starts something. And Akane's like, you gotta stand up for yourself when you're in a fight. Yeah. Karashi calls her Warrior Race B, which is such a dorky hotel. Oh, man. So Tyson asks her, how she feels, especially because of the way that, Isho messed with her this whole time. And Akane says, and she tries to answer, and then we get a great reaction image of Akane being really, really worked up and pissed off.
Yeah, she's doing her Doraemon.
Yeah. But she admits that the idea of participating in this event, even as a member of Isho's school, is that it's very meaningful. And she remembers, the things that Kaisei said about how it's about the history of their school. She says, I can't stand still and I need to keep moving. And I've run it past the people who deserve to know. We see a very brief shot of the group chat and just kind of like her informing her older brother apprentices about it. But she says, once it's settled, I've just got to go through with it. And that's it. Again, Karashi's like, you're like a wild boar. Just got to get the digs in on her. Hikaru, however, sees the value in it, which is that this is a big opportunity. And Akane's like, oh yeah, you're in the Isho school because she's Iken's apprentice. So she is part of that. And Hikaru says, I've been.
Don't you remember Akane? You saw her shaded face in last week in the panel.
Hikaru says that she's actually been part of the Ishokai before, and she says, yeah, that's like a huge room that it takes place in. There's a huge stage, and the audience are all deeply connected to Master Isho, so that's a really big event in Japan. And so Karashi says, yeah, that means it's a chance to get discovered then. And Akane is like, discovered? Karashi's like, you know nothing outside of Rakugo, do you? And everyone's like, yeah, she absolutely does not know anything about it. Hikaru says, she's cute that way. She's the only one who says anything remotely positive, but even so, she's like, yeah, she knows nothing about it. And Karashi just says, look, one of the ways that you measure Rakugoka is their ability to draw an audience. You're in Arakawa. You should know how crucial that is. Being able to draw over 1,000 people to a single show where you are the sole performer is the bar to take the Shinichi promotion test. And in fact, Akane knows that it's actually a rule that was set after the expulsion incident. Having art that makes the masses sit up and take notice is a benchmark that a Shinichi of Arakawa must meet. And it's a challenge, of course, because Rakugo was not originally meant to be performed on that kind of scale. Karashi draws up the power levels real quick in terms of the drawing ability, which is that the Arakawa Big Four are all over 500. Popular Shinichi are 300 to 500. Hikaru is in the 300 to 400 range. Then Kaichi and Karashi are 200 to 300. Popular Futatsume tend to be 150 to 200. And Akane is at 100. She is at the level of basically just ordinary Futatsume with her level of popularity currently. So Karashi's like, you're getting like 100 just for winning the Zuion prize. Like, but that's actually like, that's all that you've really accomplished. So you should actually be happy with that. Mm-hmm. Kane brings up, how does Hikaru have so many? And Hikaru's like, well, about a third of them are fans of my voice acting. As we cut to a graph of not a third of them being fans of her voice acting. But Karashi's like, look, anything you get, that's like a strength. Anything that's worth to your advantage is a strength. And he brings up like, there's a small audience of hardcore Rakugo fans. So there's a low ceiling if you're competing over that. You need like new audiences. So she's got a huge advantage in that department. So a way to get more people to notice you and to get more drawing ability is to stand out in the Ishokai, Within the school, Hikaru says, it's known as the Gateway to Shinuchi. And we get a Kaichi shout out, Quinn, that because of his media expansion, that was all because of the Ishokai. Also, Kaisei got some stuff too. So
Who cares?
when Kaisei is brought up, Akane realizes that she is late. She's late for a meeting to start, doing the daytime planning with Kaisei. So she rushes over to meet him at his solo show. And we see that it is quite crowded there. There are over 500 people at the event. And so she's like, damn, this is crazy. But as she's looking around, we get Kaichi! He's here!
It's the Kai!
Bring tea!
It's the Kai I wanted!
Long time no tea! Tea hee hee! A twofer!
Come on, this is why the guy is making the big bucks.
And so Akane is like, "Oh, did you perform before?" And he says, "Yeah, I was the opener." But he's also really impressed by Kaisei's drawing ability and says, "We've really got our work cut out for us." And Akane thinks about it and she says, "If he's so popular and so skilled, why did Kaisei Anisan fail to become a Shinuchi?" And to bring it back around to her hearing about the Shinuchi test, we cut to, presumably afterwards on that day, and we see Isho putting his hand on Kaisei's shoulder, saying something that makes him break out into a sweat. Or it's raining. I guess it's in the rain.
Yeah, it's raining. But he
Isho
glares. He gives a glare.
Isho smirks the same way that he smirked when he saw Akane's performance on the feed, and we get the narration to end. You understand, don't you? Cool stuff.
I like evil Isho, who continuously pushes his students by being the biggest dickhead possible to them at every turn, and it really does strike such a chord that he would fail Kaisei after all this time of building him up. We don't really know how good he is, just always this rival who was always beyond Akane. And yeah, it's really stunning when it's like, oh yeah, Isho failed him. He did not pass the exam. And judging by the look in his eye, it seems like it was Isho directly who put an end to that test, who must have failed him. So very curious to know more about that. I'm immediately I want to see how that scene went down now, basically.
There's also the suggestion that it might be that this actually took place before the event, and so maybe this was Kaisei getting a limitation the way Akane got put on her. I'm sure we'll get more information on that shortly. So,
yeah. All right. Well, we have one more series to talk about as Professor Peanut starts screaming outside my door. So we're going to really quickly, as fast as I guess you can, talk about One Piece chapter 1166. New stories. I just wanted to comment that there's a two-page cover spread where all the characters are in their autumn attire. Nami looks very cute, except she has a very stupid hat on. Normally Nick is the one who points out the stupid hats, but this is a very dumb hat.
Got this one covered.
I cannot express enough how much it absolutely ruins a pretty cute outfit. Did make me really want to eat a baked sweet potato though. Anyways, the chapter opens up with rocks laying in the ground. Rogers and Garp are also out, but Rocks is alive right now. He notes, he's like, wait, has the curse worn off? Am I going to get to leave this island alive? And then he looks and sees in the distance 3 of the Holy Knights coming. And he's like, nope. Guess it's not happening. Yep, I'm dying here. You guys better run. But, oh right, I'm glad you guys stopped me. Thanks. It's the last thing he thinks before St. Figureland stabs him in the chest. Cut over to Mr. Ya and Rayleigh, who have picked up Rogers and Garp and are carrying them away. But Garp's like, where's Rocks? And they're like, you're worried about your enemy? He's like, you guys are my enemy too. But Raleigh just basically is like, hey, yeah, they killed him. So everybody's like, we got to get out of this island. Everything's escaping. This is all crazy. And we just start getting narration. It's like, hey, absent for the pages of recorded history, like a curtain falling on the stage, the island crumbled in upon itself and was shrouded in a deep mist. This is a broad account of what happened in the mysterious, obscure God Valley incident. But after a brief moment of silence, a massive lightning bolt with countless branches split the sky. And with that, a number of news stories began. And we see in this 2-page spread sort of the past or the present, I guess, of that time and how they were shifted. And then on the other side, the future of the One Piece world as we know it. And those things, Kaido, Dragon, Shanks, all those sorts of things. So, still in this flashback, we're on the Rogers ship. Rogers wakes up and they say, hey, it's time to open up the treasure. And wouldn't you know it, inside that treasure chest is a baby. I mean, we knew it. We knew this was going to happen. Because that's how Shanks was found, was in a treasure chest on Gold Rogers. But everyone in that moment, for them, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Cut over, the world has had the news of the Rocks Pirates' downfall spread, and
the news.
The news spread does not have much of the information, and it prominently features the exploits of, quote, Garp the hero. So everybody's reacting, everybody's like, yeah, I knew Garp was better than that idiot, woo, Garp rules, the Rocks Pirates are done. But
Garp's like, I'm gonna rip up every newspaper.
Garp is furious. He's just ripping up newspapers. He's like, bring me this Morgan's guy. I'm gonna rip him in half. But Sengoku is there and is just like, oh, stop it. Clearly the government paid him to write this. Besides, you know, there's already so many like arms of the world government and so many people doing things. It's impossible to be aware of what everybody in this organization is doing. So when someone in upper management's doing something insane, I could just look the other way. And Garp, understandably, starts beating the shit out of him.
Fuck you!
Because that's a kind of weird way of phrasing it. But in his defense, he is like recognizing that this is Sengoku who climbs this ladder. And Sengoku hits back at him with like, shut up. What is barking from the bottom of a cliff going to accomplish? And Garp just knows
it's kind of one of those things that lets us know as well that yes, the Marines are, as an organization, bad. But it does give us insight into like, hey, here are how some good people justify being in this organization. Garp does so by being like, I got to look after all the rank and file people. Sengoku does it by being like, I put it out of my mind that, you know, like these guys, some of these guys do horrible things. And that's just it. And we see that in the present, finally, Sengoku started to see the error of his ways in doing that for so long and not doing anything about it.
Yeah, we see eventually, especially if you go to like the present, we know that Sengoku is pretty weighed down by his position. So he is not as unbothered by these developments, I imagine, as he's leading on. But Garp notes, he's like, hey, if you turn out like them, I'm going to kill you myself. And he's like, cool. I'm glad with friends like you, who could possibly go wrong? But he also notes, hey, don't tell me you're quitting. And Garp says, nope. I've got plenty of people to protect from the bottom of the cliff, as you call it. Cut over to Elbath. Loki. Remember, Nick? This was a flashback about the Giants.
Quinn, I was so happy. We finally got back to the Giants in this chapter.
Loki is crying because he looked up to Rox. He worshipped him. He wanted to go and see the world with Rox and join his crew.
It's very difficult for him to look up to Rox, considering he's like 10 times as tall as him.
I know. But he even remembers a conversation he had with Rox where he's like, you know, I think you're Nico, Rox. And, you know, Rox is like the warrior of liberation who laughs as he tears down the world. That's not me. I'm going to be king of the world. If anyone's got that kind of power, it's Harold. And, you know, he just kind of notes like, you know, me and Harold worked up, then who could possibly stop us? And now he's thinking they'll never have their chance because of love, his dad's love, supposedly. Cut over, there is a report that on a certain island there has been an assault from King Harold. Oh no! Who is he hurt? Oh, this giant who is causing problems. But the issue is he's being really, really violent about it. So he has already basically subdued this person who is begging for their life, saying, "No, I'll never pillage from humans
No
again."
boss.
And Harold's like, "Nah, not till you get these hands. You're not sorry enough." Basically, he's like, "It's scum like you who give giants the bad history that we have, so no one believes that any of us are seeking a peaceful seat." And somebody's note, "Your Majesty, he's unconscious," and he's still just like wailing on this guy at this point. And he's, obviously laying out some aggressions because he starts talking about Rock. And he's like, "This is why I couldn't help him. My greatest friend begged me for help and I turned my back on him. I left him there to die. Now I cannot turn back from this path. I refuse to overlook the evil of giants." Very quick scene of Dragon in prison, meeting Garp and being like, "Hey, I'm quitting the Navy." And Garp's like, "I know." He's like, "And on that topic, I'm disgusted with you." And Garp's like, "I get it." Just throws him the key to get out. Cut away, and we see a little bit of the other stuff going on. There's a moment of Harold being like, "Haryuden, Loki, you are my sons, and I love you both. I want you to work together," which is going to be very interesting because we know some stuff's coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
But he starts sailing off to Marineford, where a Marine's like, "You're not allowed to come in here." And he just walks straight past them and starts speaking directly to the collective world government, essentially. And he says, "Please hear me out." Grabs onto the horns on his head and rips them straight out of his skull and says, "Allow me to use this chance to atone for 1,000 years of history. I want to apologize for all the mistakes giant kind has made, and I wish to prove my oath of peace that the children of Elbath can live fruitful lives without hurting anyone. I want a chance to atone for our sins. If it means I must be a slave, so be it." And on those words, we see Imu's eye ominously watching.
Yeah. So it does finally connect back here. Okay, so the reason why Harald left himself open to presumably the thing that led to his demise was because he was affected by the death of his friend in this way. And I do like a lot of the details that we get in this chapter. This was one where now that we're fully back in oh, let's kind of observe the world kind of mode instead of the battle itself. I was able to kind of take them in a lot better. We get the detail of oh, Shanks is here. The notes about hey, who's this Morgan's guy? Because more big news, Morgan's not fully established, but presumably this did a huge thing for him building his empire. I really like the scene of Loki, crying over the death of Rox, and when it's coming out of the flashback within a flashback. When you see the newspaper, it's not even big enough to fill up his palm because he's so big. It's just a nice little touch. So yeah, I quite like this chapter.
Yeah, it's nice that we're finally back to what was the focal point of this. It is going to be wild when you're collecting volumes of One Piece and 3 volumes are just this giant flashback, but a volume and a half of that is just God Valley as well. So yeah, I guess we're going to see what happens there. I'm kind of hoping the rest of this flashback is quick because I don't really want to spend more time in it, but so be
hopefully we start the new year in the present of One Piece.
Yeah, it's late game One Piece, so who knows? A flashback could take place over the course of a year and a half. I mean, I wouldn't be stunned by it, but definitely don't want to have to.
We're actually apparently getting a second week in a row with One Piece this week.
Okay,
so
that's good. But that is it. That is all the manga for this week. So favorites and MVP. Nick, did you have any favorites or MVPs you want to shout out?
Yeah, my favorite chapter this week is going to be Someone Hurts. I just really liked the conversation that happened between Mime and Mizuo. We got some nice visuals, and I just really liked the chance for them to kind of get real in terms of hey, this is how I've managed to actually deal with these burdens. They actually listen to each other and learn from each other, and it's very sweet.
Yeah. I'm going to give my chapter of the week to Akane-banashi because I got really intrigued by that moment where they were like, hey, Kaisei failed his Shinichi exam. And that was enough to immediately get me to be like, all right, I want to know why.
Mm-hmm. My MVP this week has got to be Crow.
Yeah.
Got to be the Chrono Weaver magic. Such a great little speech. Got to be badass on top of it by warping away the undead army and Hitsuki on top of that. So absolutely no contest for me.
Yep. The audience, by the way, agreed Chrono Reaver Magic was character of the week, and Blue Box won chapter of the week.
Yeah, I get that too. We had a good selection of nice chapters this week. I also thought that Dandadan and Chainsaw Man and Spy Family, all that was really good this week. So yeah, great week of manga, I felt.
Absolutely.
All right. Everyone, that's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. We should be back next week on our usual day of Wednesday. So stay tuned by following us on social media. I am Nick F. Time. Quinn is Rolo Z. And we also have the Weekly Manga Recap BlueSky account as well. You can also follow WMR Votes on there so that you can stay up to date on when the polls are available to make your voice heard on what your favorite chapter and who your MVP was, so that we can read the results on the show. We have a Discord server that you can join. If you do that, you'll also get an alert when the stream goes live here on twitch.tv/RoloT. And there are discussions that happen every time the chapters get posted. There are chapters on the recommendation we're taking, and even just like regular hangouts that happen in our great community. You can also use that to find the Google Doc maintained by Ninja X3i that has all sorts of helpful statistics associated with the show. Long record of all the series that we have taken as recommendations, and hell, as long as we've been doing like favorite series and stuff like that, that's all tracked on there too.
Yes.
Never would be able to track it otherwise. Okay, well, we have all of our episodes archived on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com if you just want the audio version. It's also on podcast feeds like Spotify and iTunes, and there's a video version that is available on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap with an opening sequence by Milo Jackson and Winsleydale Cheddar, and occasionally title cards by Steve Man, whose artwork you can find by just searching for Steve Man Art, and you'll find it everywhere. And that should be it.
Yeah. We will pick a new series of the week. I'm probably going to wait until after the Thanksgiving holiday, where I'm going to have a little time that I'm going to devote to some things. So I'll pick a series there. We can come back and do it. But in the interim, I did want to note I was recovering from my surgery recently, and I had to be on a couple different substances basically to help alleviate the pain and whatnot. And we went to go see 2 movies while I was like this. We saw the new Superman movie. I could tell you absolutely nothing about it because I do not remember. I know I was conscious for parts of it. I know I saw Metamorpho at some point. Could not tell you a single thing.
Did you like the part where he grew 3 more heads and started talking to you directly?
I don't know if that was in the movie or not. But the other one I saw was the new Chainsaw Man movie. And it's very funny to me because I definitely fell asleep throughout that movie. I don't remember really watching almost any of it. But I do remember waking up at one point while a big action scene was happening and almost screaming until I remembered, no, Quinn, you're in a movie theater. Like, there was a really close, I was like, oh my God! And I was like, oh wait, no, hold on. I'm actually very safe right now. In fact, I know how the story ends.
Tragically, I better start crying in advance.
Yeah, I'm gonna start crying so everyone knows that I know how this story ends. All right.
Can't let anyone think that I'm a fake Chainsaw Man fan.
All right.
Okay, everybody.
Bye.
See you all next week. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.